Let's talk about how to put an assembly together. So this is the finished product right here. I've got 5 pieces. I've got the top plate, the axle support, there's a bushing that goes in here, an axle, and the wheel. We want to combine all those into an assembly. Under window right here, notice I have all of those parts already open, ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to New Document. I'm going to go to Assembly and click OK. As my assembly comes in, the first thing it asks me for is to insert a component. The first component that I bring in is going to come in fixed. So I kind of need to decide which one of these components that's going to be. And I want to bring my top plate in as my piece that's going to kind of lock in place. So there it is. On my Assemblies toolbar, I have Insert Component, and I'm just going to bring in the axle. It doesn't matter where I put it. Insert Component. I'm going to bring in the bushing. Insert Component. Another bushing. I need the axle support. And again, I'm just bringing these in and just setting them anywhere for now, just so that they're in my window. And I need the wheel. There it is. And I think I have all of them now. As I click on them, I can move them around. Notice that I cannot move the top plate because I brought it in first, and it will not move. Up here under Rotate Component, I'm going to click on that. I'm just going to kind of move this around to the general area, and not necessarily location, but general way that I want these rotated. There we go. Okay. Now we're ready to start putting this thing together. The Mate command on the Assemblies toolbar is what I'm going to use. And the easiest thing to do, notice that I have this surface highlighted and it comes in right here. I don't want that, so I'm going to delete that out. The easiest thing to do is to hook cylinders together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this cylinder and I want to match it with this cylinder. And I'm looking for a concentric mate. That's what it assumes I want. I'm going to hit the check mark because that is what I want. Now I'm going to click on this surface and this surface of the bushing, and that smashes them together in what's called a coincident mate. That just means that they are basically smashed together. I'm going to hit the check mark again. Now I'm going to line up these circles or these holes. So I click on the surface. Remember, I want surfaces and not edges. So that's an edge. I'm going to click on the surface. It lines them up. Hit the check mark. I'm going to click on this one, line it up with the one underneath it. Hit the check mark. Now notice that this is in the wrong spot, so I'm just going to move it down a little bit. Surface to surface. And it lines them up. So I'm going to do that same process over here. Maybe. So concentric, hit the check mark. I need to put them together. Now I've got to make sure I get the right surface here. So inside of the cylinder, make sure it's the surface of the hole again. So it lines them up as concentric, and then we'll smash them together. Okay, let's put the axle in. So I'm going to click on the cylindrical surface again, and I want to match it to that cylindrical surface because they should all be concentric circles. Now I'm going to take the end of this and put it to the end of that. If we've built it right, it should be exactly the same. Now we're going to do the same thing to the wheel. Again, circles are easy to work with, or cylinders. We just make sure we hit the surface. At this point, I need to go make a change in my settings real fast. I'm going to go to Tools and down to Options. If you have the handout on this, you'll remember that it's built in millimeters. When my new document came up, it defaulted to inches, so I'm just going to change this to millimeters real fast, and you'll see why here in a second. So I've got this wheel, made it on here. Now I just need to locate it. So I'm going to hit the Mate button again, so I get back into the Mates. I'm going to click on the surface here, and as I come over, I'm going to click on the surface here, and that smashes them together using that coincident mate. Well, I don't want it smashed together. I want a little bit of distance in there. So coming down on my standard mates right here, I'm going to click on the distance tool, and this is where I needed millimeters. Right now it's at 21 millimeters. I'm going to put in 2, and that should give me exactly the right distance between it. Hit the check mark, and my assembly is complete.